Meet Grammarly.
Hey guys, so thank you, Best Nail Tech. Maybe I have grown, but my numbers have not. So I am so stagnant with my subscribers that I cannot even, I'm like, how am I not getting any new subscribers? I'm not losing any, but I'm not gaining any. It's crazy. I'm like, I am like so not in the algorithm because I can't be. I mean, it's obvious I'm not in the algorithm because I'm getting no new subscribers. So like I said, I'm not losing any, but I'm certainly not gaining any. I am stagnant for like a month or two. Probably more than that, a couple months already. So make sure you share this video. Make sure you share other videos. Make sure you tell your friends about me. But most importantly, I need you guys to love me. I need you guys to support me. Head over to my store and order some candles. I just ordered today another 44 pounds of wax because my place had a sale. So they're having 4th of July sale, and I debated. I'm like, I have so much wax at the house. But I'm like, you know what? I'm saving like 50 bucks, so fuck it. I'm going to buy it. So yeah, I bought another 44 pounds of wax. So now I have probably like 200 pounds of wax. I did break 20K, but I am stuck at 21.9 forever. Like literally forever. I have not gotten past 21.9. I'm just stagnant. I'll go like 20 up and then 20 down and then 30 down and then 20 back up. It's crazy. So yeah, so head over to the merch store. I'm going to put t-shirts on by tomorrow because I got to start selling. I got mugs I got to start selling. I need to make money. So we need to push. Buy your candles right now, 20% off all week. And that will seriously help support me. And I need it. So, yes. Welcome. Welcome. I still have to lower all my videos down to member videos. So welcome to memberships. I'm going to start doing more member stuff. Also, if you're a member, you automatically, when I don't have a special going on, I always forget about this. But if you're a member, you actually get 10% off at any given time for a candle. And then Patreons, you automatically get 20% off all the time too. I always forget to tell you guys that. But yes, it is 10% off all the time, 20% off for Patreons all the time. And yeah, so there's like incentives to join Patreon or memberships. So yeah, every bit helps. But I got a kid leaving for college in 6 weeks and another kid leaving for college in 8 weeks. So yeah, we need to make moolah. So everyone order your candles at energycandles.com. You can also go to my YouTube store and you can do it there. You can super chat me, you can PayPal, Cash App, all that other stuff. If you don't want to spend that money for a candle, you can always super chat. Or like I said, keep YouTube happy with super chats or PayPal, Cash Apps, whatever. So, okay. What inspired me for tonight's live? And by the way, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So what inspired me for tonight's live? I was listening to somebody earlier that I don't ever listen to. I don't care for the person, so I just don't listen to him. But he was on earlier. He was like the only one on that I felt like listening to. I'm glad I did, because I actually learned a lot. And not only did I learn a lot, but it put things in perspective that I did not even realize. Now, what I mean by that is all the stuff with Summer Wells. You know, I've covered the case from the beginning, but I'm not in the Summer Wells community. So I've always looked at it from an outside perspective. Wax melts are 20% off as well right now. So I always watched it from an outside perspective. Oh, Lynn, you know who I'm talking about? And one of the things that I've always said when people got on Molly's case about, oh, you're not doing anything and you're hindering cases, nobody ever really gave a solid reason. And I'm like, how are they hindering a case? They're not fucking doing anything. They're just annoying people. So that's how I always saw it. And I'm like, I don't get why these people are saying, I think they're just being assholes. They're being hateful. They're being this. They're being that. Until I watched this person tonight. And I've heard similar guests speak, but for the first time ever, they actually gave a solid reason of how these people are hurting a case. And it hit me. I was like, you know what? I know that I have preached 1,000 times over that these people are crazy, they're just hateful, and nobody's hindering a case. Until, thank you, SB, until I listen to this girl speak tonight. Now, again, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm pretty picky on certain things. One of them is speaking proper English. Now, you can mess up words. You can say words wrong. You can even make up your own words. But I have this thing when people use was instead of were, or use, or just basic English, it drives me insane. So I know some of you guys feel the same way. So just get past that part when she's speaking, because she really gave some great knowledge into why these people are ruining a case. And again, I never thought of it before. Not once did it hit me that, you know what? Maybe they're right. No, not maybe they're right. They are 100% correct. And I never thought of it before. So at first I'm going to play a couple things. One of the things I don't agree with, and I'll explain why, and I think that I have a strong opinion on it. And you guys that have followed me from jump of this case, you'll know what I'm talking about after it's played. Now, mind you, let's not forget that at no point did Don and Candace get charged for this crime. At no point has law enforcement said that they failed multiple lie detectors, because it was actually the opposite. I know Candace allegedly failed her first one, but they all passed after that. They've been interrogated multiple times, and not once did they ever fail. Candace was allowed to leave the state. Originally Don was, but I guess because he didn't go to rehab or finish rehab, he's got called back. So, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, no matter what you think of them personally, the proof, the evidence that's there is they're innocent. As for what we know right now, again, take away your beliefs. Take away what you think. Because what you think, same thing as what I think, mean nothing. We can only go by what facts we have. And based on the facts, they are victims. Plain and simple. So I want you to listen to his first guest, which I guess is his buddy, retired, whatever. But I'm going to play that first.
We'll be joined with our guests, Dave and Twyla from Equarch.
From across the country. And today we have an update to a case we have covered before that has gripped the attention of people from all over the world. Today marks 2 years since a little girl in Tennessee vanished from her rural home. Her name is Summer Wells. And what you're seeing here is a brand new
Now, first thing I want to say though, I do not think she would look like that. I think that looks like a 12-year-old, not a 7-year-old. So I'm sorry, but I don't think that's what she would look like today. That to me looks like a 12-year-old.
Age progression photo from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. This is what Summer may look like today. She'd be 7 years old. She was 5 when she disappeared.
Oh, I know, Amber. He's already struck me once.
All of the attention on Summer's case has led to dead-end tips for investigators, even harassment towards her parents. Now law enforcement are tight-lipped about what they know about the case. Summer's father sat down with News Nation to keep his daughter's case in the headlines.
Okay, now in all fairness, I do not think that they're tight-lipped because of JLR, Betty, or anyone else. They're tight-lipped because they don't have a fucking suspect. So if you don't have a suspect and you don't know who's guilty, you're gonna be tight-lipped. That's called good cop work, good police work. So I think it's wrong for her to make it out like it's because of social media that they're tight-lipped. No, they're tight-lipped because they have to be.
This is Summer Wells. The 5-year-old lived at this house in Rogersville, Tennessee, a tight-knit community of less than 5,000 people. On June 15, 2021, her parents say Summer was helping plant flowers with her mom and grandmother.
She wanted to go into the house. My wife watched her go into the door, and she went into the house, and the boys were on the internet, of course. She wanted to go downstairs and play with her toys.
I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight.
2 years after her parents, Don and Candace Wells, gave those accounts, that's still all we know about the last time Summer was seen. Almost immediately.
Her house was their property was searched 100,000 times over.
Summer's parents became the center of a police investigation.
Summer's parents, Candace and Dawn, had something to do with this, or have you ruled that out?
We haven't ruled anything out. Everything's possible.
Could she have gotten herself into a situation where it wasn't her fault, but
No.
you know what I mean?
No, she's a good mother. She loves her children. She's not going to allow any situation like that. The biggest mistake she might have made is maybe choosing some wrong friends, which is, it happens.
Don Wells pleaded guilty to driving under the influence last year. Candace also filed an order of protection against him, but asked for it to be dismissed. He now faces criminal charges in 3 states, including a domestic assault arrest in 2020. 2 years later, investigators have not charged either Don or...
Okay, can someone tell me what he's being charged with in 3 different states? Because again, I don't remember any real charges from 3 different states. I know the domestic violence one, the alcohol one, but that's not being charged because he was serving time for it. He already served time for it. So can someone tell me what he's being charged with in 3 different states? Because I never heard that before. Other than, this thing.
or his wife in connection to Summer's disappearance.
Everybody makes mistakes, and we all have to learn and go on. We're doing better. It's still very rough for my wife.
Don Wells sat down with News Nation to talk about where the case stands today. His wife hasn't sat down for an interview since this appearance on Dr. Phil in 2021, where she walked out of an interview in Texas.
No, I'm being interrogated again, and I don't want to do this anymore. Yes, I am.
We'll stop. I want you to feel comfortable.
Since Summer's disappearance, Don says their life has been consumed by harassment from people online.
I want to stop it there. And, we know what the rest of this entails. Don Wells, again, talking about CPS taking his children, his boys away from him. We have our thoughts and our opinions on that as law enforcement professionals. you know, I have to say to the people who are lay folks who are just watching this from the outside looking in, you know, law enforcement has to look at this, the totality of everything that's happened here. And
Yeah, I know about the probation in Tennessee, but what she said 3 different states. Sissy, that was all made up by fucking Chris McDonough. And that's what I'm thinking too. That they're talking about Chris McDonough's nonsense, which he's not being charged with anything. From every state that he's in, it's a little lot.
I don't think in good faith they could let them have their children back when they haven't explained what happened to one of their 5-year-old daughter.
Okay, this was my first question. How are they going to explain something they don't know? That's automatically saying they're guilty. And I'm sorry, I disagree. I don't think Candace and Don are guilty. I'll tell you what I think they're guilty of. Candace's story of that day is bullshit. Candace's story of how everything went down is a complete lie. But that doesn't mean she's guilty of murder or kidnapping her own child or doing something to her child. So I do not believe at all that I agree, Scorpio. But I do not agree saying that that she needs to explain what happened to her daughter. That's saying she's guilty. And at no point is she found guilty yet by anybody.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed. You're
get a judge. I'm sorry, you muted me. Yeah, because of Kara. Okay. Yeah, you'd have to.
Hey, Yarn, my beautiful friend. Okay, this guy was interesting. I'll leave it at that.
Get a judge to sign off on this anyhow. Okay. Right. And I don't think at this point in time, they've proven, you know, that they could tap the kids back, right? Given the circumstances that are still here. And if I may fall back.
Exactly, beyond the badge. That's what I keep saying. And you have 2 retired cops that people listen to and believe. And, you know, Duty Ron says throughout this a lot. He does say throughout this a lot of times that, you know, they haven't been proven guilty. But just listen.
Back on something else that was said at the end of that clip. You know, we've said this time and time again on Duty Ron. Listen, I understand and respect the true crime family, but folks, if you know anybody that is traveling to these locations and harassing these people, tell them to stop. They are not.
Why not just call JLR out by name? He knows it's JLR. Duty Ron knows it's JLR. So call him out by name. Say, JLR, stop doing it. Thank you, Tanya. First super chat of the night. Woo woo. Or super sticker of the night. Happy 4th, everyone. But it's not 4th of July yet. We still got 2 days. But I don't know why he didn't just call JLR out by name.
Not helping the case. They're taking the focus away from where it needs to be and making these people into victims.
Tell them they do it every time. I tell them it's a problem, but they acting like it's fine. I'm begging them to stop, but they leave me with a like.
Okay, now this one little part that he just said bothers me. I'm going to rewind it.
To these locations and harassing these people, tell them to stop. They are not helping the case. They're taking the focus away from where it needs to be and making these people into victims.
But these people are victims right now. They are victims. Until it's proven otherwise, they are a victim. So it upsets me when I hear an ex-law enforcement say how, well, we shouldn't make them victims. But they are victims. Just because they're lowlifes doesn't make them non-victims. Candace doesn't have this long history. Don, well, yeah, Don does. But it reminds me of like a, whatchamacallit, like a hooker that gets killed and they kind of blow it off like it was just a hooker. That's what this reminds me of. It really does. It reminds me of, oh, I agree, Amber. It reminds me of people that have public defenders. Cops like, oh, great, they got a public defender, we'll win. As of right now, Don and Candace lost all their children. Now, 3 of them they lost by their own doing. But one of them may not be by their own doing. So I find it really disheartening when he says we don't want to make them victims. Why the fuck not? Until there's proof otherwise, like forget your opinions, but until there's proof otherwise, they are a victim.
Don't do that. Okay?
And they're also utilizing the jagaloonish behavior of these people, and they're using it to their advantage because they're saying, look at me. I'm being harassed.
Exactly. And they're taking law enforcement away from what they need to be doing.
Correct.
That I don't agree with, though. JLR is not messing with the police at all. Betty is not really messing with the police. So I disagree with that. And now we have someone quoting tragedy pimps. Okay, I'll keep quiet on that. I'm going to zip it for that.
Because we see Sheriff Lawson, we see TBI allude to it, that all of the online harassment, the people showing up, the trespassing and the so forth, going onto people's properties, it's not a good thing. Dave Rader, Equarch Midwest director, I'm going to have him come in because I want to talk to Dave about what his organization has done thus.
Okay, now I'm going to fast forward it to this girl. She is like a director of Equarch, Texas or something. But again, up until this point, up until she spoke, I blew off of how this is affecting law enforcement. Because the cops aren't being called, they're not, like, until she spoke, I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But she explains it, and it was eye-opening to me. It really was eye-opening.
We done and knew where we were at every single step of the way. There was one time we were out there, we were in an area, there was actually some officers that had showed up and, secured the area for me and some of my other teammates to go back and check because it was just an awful area.
Amen, Squirrel. Amen.
But I do know that when we first went in, we were in under TBI. I had originally reached out. I seen this case on Facebook or something, and I reached out to Dave and I said, oh my goodness, there's this little girl that's missing. I said, it's not really far from me, but it's a few hours. Can I make contact? He said, absolutely, go do it. So I did, and then that's when we were able to go in. A few hours later, we got the okay to go ahead and bring our team in. Dave was on the road and there the very next morning, but the first time we went, we was with TBI. The second time we went in was under Hawkins County, and each time after that, we had permission from Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. And I still feel to this day, if I feel like, okay, I feel like there's some more areas that we need to go check into, or if there's some reliable tips out there, not some crazy crap that doesn't make no sense. And I feel like if we reached out to the detective that we worked with Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and say, hey, can we come put on another search for Summer? I feel wholeheartedly, without a doubt, that he would say, come on in, come do what you got to do. They was very grateful. That was very appreciative. And we covered a lot of ground. I can tell you that much.
I want to bring Dave back in because he's back and he joined us. And Vet Girl RWB, she put in another thing. Some of the biggest obstacles. Sorry, should have added that. Thank you. Dave, welcome back. I know that it was either the second or third time. What happened?
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
He's
Dave,
there. He's there. He's back.
yeah, but I can't add. When I add him, there's no picture. Anyway, so okay.
I do know that he said that they were supposed to have storms. There he is.
Yeah. Dave, so welcome back. I don't know.
Hopefully not, Yarn, but this was just really important.
He's kind of having maybe internet trouble. But that second or third time, did you go 3 times or 2? It was 2 times, Twyla?
No, I think we went 3 times,
right?
Maybe.
One of the times that you went, I was negotiating with Tony Allen.
You were supposed to go. Yep.
And
you were supposed to go.
Yes, COVID. There was the COVID bug. You guys were all spreading it amongst yourselves, and me and Bill Cannon was.
Okay, now my question is, and I'm being serious, what makes Duty Ron going down there, who's just a YouTuber? He's a retired cop, yes, but at the end of the day, he's still just a YouTuber. So what makes it any different for him going down or me going down? Like, honestly, what's the difference? That's something that boggles my mind. When people on YouTube think that they're more important than anyone else. As a retired cop in another state, he doesn't have any more power than I do in Tennessee. So I don't understand why it's okay for one but not the other. The background, yes, but that doesn't help him in another state. Beyond the badge, I think they'll agree with that. Him being a cop in New York has nothing to do with Tennessee police on an active investigation, considering he's not even active anymore. They can't give him any information. They can't tell him anything. Unless he had a good buddy there, they're not going to tell him anything. That's what I'm saying, Margaret. Didn't they just say stay away? He had a badge. No, he does. No, he doesn't have a badge anymore. He's retired. But an ex-New York City cop can't do anything in Tennessee. Why would I strike you for sharing a stream like this? They could get information out to thousands. Beyond the badge, because that's what he does. But I'm just saying, though, that there's nothing that he can do down there or get any more information down there as a retired New York City cop. His retirement is pointless. Pointless.
Supposed to drive down there. I had it mapped out. It was 16 hours of a drive, and it just, the cards weren't right. I wanted to go down there, but it was just really, really a touchy time, and a lot of things were going on. But I had negotiated with Tony Allen. He said,
nah, he's just friends with them. Oh, he's a member of Equarch? I didn't know that.
And this was kind of odd because he said, you guys can come. We're not going to tell you not to come, but you can't go on and rest. And people were complaining.
What happened was there was people that was going on to private property and.
Okay, this is it. This is what I wanted you guys to hear. Welcome, Charlie. This is what I wanted you guys to hear. Right here. What she says. Listen.
They were harassing people. They were going on people's property, searching, claiming that they were with the search team when really they wasn't. And they was just doing all kinds of crazy stuff that they shouldn't have been doing. So when we were supposed to go back like we did, there was a lot of restrictions, like you said, because of the people that don't know what they're doing, that was just out there for the fame, like taking cameras and stuff, trying to record little things, making it like they found something that belonged to her. So yes, it was really hard. And there was at some point, when we were out there, there was a lady that, she saw me with this shirt on, this yellow shirt on, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you one of the fake ones?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "One of the, the fake claim to be search teams." And I was like, "Absolutely not." Like, I had to literally give this lady my card at a gas station for her to believe that I was who I was or whatever. And after she realized that I wasn't one of the fakes, like she called it, she's like, "You're more than welcome to come over to my property and search at any time." Da 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 da. So that's why there was a lot of restrictions on there, because people got tired of people showing up on their property late at night and doing this and doing that. I mean, we don't even go in somebody's property late at night to try to search something. We do everything with permission, but it's hard like that. We get that with a lot of cases, Duty Ron. It's hard because other people go in for the fame or the attention, and it makes it hard for us when we do go in with permission from law enforcement. And sometimes the property owners has just had enough and is like, "No, my property's been searched multiple times and I don't want nobody else on it."
Right.
Right there was the biggest eye opener to me, because she's right. And I never even thought of that. That if JLR and Betty, before anyone comes at me, well, how come I'm not mentioning Molly? Because Molly's not doing true crime anymore. That's why I'm not mentioning Molly. So I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, you're friends with Molly, so that's why you're not using her name." No, it's because she doesn't do true crime anymore. She already said she's not doing true crime anymore. So there's no point in bringing her up. So, but when it comes to Betty, JLR, they're still actively doing this. They're still actively going to cases before the police. We know JLR is all over the place doing it. And, when I sat back and I thought about it, you know what? I never fucking thought of that. But she's right. If JLR gets there and he's harassing people and he's going on their property and he's doing this, by the time the real people get there, same thing, Benny and Cam as well. By the time the real people get there, they don't want to deal with it. And the cops, because of JLR, Betty, Cam, Allie, Benny, because of them. No, she's not a YouTuber, you're on. But because of them, now Equarch gets there for the second or third time, and nobody wants to deal with it. And the cops now have all these restrictions on it. And the cops are now like, "Nope, can't do this, can't do that." Wow, I never fucking thought of that. I never thought that it, forget, or even Ziggy. I forgot Ziggy. Ziggy's all over the neighbors. Well, let's not forget Ziggy. So Ziggy's looking for bones, wasting the cops' time with animal bones, her and this fucking meth head. Well, by the time real searchers get there, now you just wasted cops' time. You're listening to a total meth head. And you're just wasting everybody's time and money. So again, when Equarch gets there, they're like, "Look, you have to do this, this, and this." Where they may have had open reign previously. They may have been allowed to do everything they needed to do first. But now, because of JLR, Ziggy, Betty, they can't do anything. They went months after someone went missing. True. But Equarch was there after they were there. The bones were a prank set up by Fred and Don. I didn't know Don was involved. I know Fred is a loser. She recorded a call stating a dead man. Yep, I know. Absolutely ridiculous. But like I said, I had not realized what she meant. It's all for what they can get out of it, not for the good. Okay, so going on that stoner, who's really doing it for the goodness out of their own heart? Honestly. Show me one of these YouTubers that are talking about cases like this that are demonetized. None. Show me where Duty Ron has ever turned off his super chat. Because as a matter of fact, he wasn't getting any super chats until he said, until he turned around and said, oh, well, all of it's going for Equarch. And then all of a sudden he started getting super chats. I don't know why he didn't just give it to them directly, but, you know, it had to go through, super chat, which I don't understand, but okay. I can't name them all. That's why I put they. CPS will remove it. See, they said that's not true. They actually said that's not true. They talked about that, and I agree that it's not true. No, he doesn't. He says throughout this whole thing, all my super chats tonight will go through, will go to them. Well, why not just donate directly to them? Hey, AJ, you're wrong. It's not standard procedure. Lots of people lose their kids and don't get the other kids taken away. So that's not true. So what I'm going to do, there was another part she played. She was talking about, but I don't know where it is. She was talking about they had lunch with Candace. Let me see if I can find it.
I can tell you that much.
I want to bring Dave back in because he's back and joined us. And Vet Girl RWB.
And as humans have to treat people like
the goal of finding.
Yo, I can't believe I found that right on cue. I found that. That was pretty good. Hold on.
The missing, right? So you're not going in there trying to shake the tree up. But what I wanted to ask you is, Twyla, what was having dinner with Candace and Don Wells like?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I invited them to dinner, and we went into this restaurant, and while we were there, we was not getting very nice looks. As a matter of fact, I sat at the table.
Like that right there. Why not just donate it to them directly? Because YouTube now just took $45. Why not just give them to them directly? It makes no sense.
By myself with Don and Candace and somebody else that came with them. It was very uncomfortable, but I wasn't there for anybody else's opinion. I was there for Summer Wells, and I was going to treat them like human beings, regardless of what is going on, because I don't know what happened to her. But until we do find out, we as a team and as humans have to treat people like humans. But sitting there having dinner with them, Candace and Don sat across from me at a booth, and their lady friend sat beside me. There was times that Candace broke down and she cried. I would reach across the table and grab her hand and try to comfort her. There was times that Don, he did break down, and at one point, there was other tables that came clear, and we ended up all sitting at the table together with the rest of the team. And before we ate, Don asked, could we say a prayer? Don prayed, and he had a short conversation with me with other things outside of Summer's case that I won't go into, but just sitting there and having dinner with them. They're humans just like we are. And we were there to try to find their daughter. We treat them just like we treat any other missing persons family until something comes to light that points the finger to them in that direction, regardless of what we think or what our opinions is. We still have to treat them like human, and we have hearts. But just in general, sitting there, and I mean, after the tables were joined and we were all sitting together, we were literally in the middle of this restaurant. So all these people in the area came in, and some gave us awkward looks. Some came up and thanked us. Some came up and hugged Candace and Don. And after dinner, I'll never forget it. After dinner, we I went outside for something, and Candace came out right behind me. And I will tell you that she did hug my neck, and she started crying, and she said, regardless of what anybody says, I just want to let y'all know that I am very grateful that y'all are here to try to help my daughter. And she grabbed her wrist like this because I had given her an Equarch bracelet earlier that day when we were at her house. And she said, every time I see this bracelet, I'm going to think of you. And she said, y'all are our angels. And then after that, they went on their own separate ways. But in the beginning, I don't think one or the other was comfortable with coming and having dinner with us, but eventually they came. But I invited them because they're human just like we are. I can't judge them. I can't say anything bad. I'm there to look for their daughter. And, sometimes in situations like this, they've told me multiple things. And it was awkward at times, Duty Ron. I'm not going to lie to you, but at the end of the day, they were humans, and I had to do what was right for our organization, and that was treat them like human beings for that little girl.
But my question is, why wouldn't you treat them like humans? They're not guilty of anything yet. We don't know if they did anything wrong. They may not have done anything wrong other than lie about the course of the day. But other than that, we don't have anything that they did. So I just don't understand all of this automatic guilt on them. Because that's what I keep hearing is automatic guilt. That everybody's got them guilty. I'm sorry, I still do not see them as guilty. Again, I think they lied. But I don't think they're guilty of murdering or hurting their child. Yeah, but she kept saying, I know, sweetie one, but I'm saying that she kept saying, this whole guilty until proven innocent attitude. Exactly. It's 100% wrong. There is no evidence showing that they're guilty other than guilty of lying. That I'm convinced they're guilty of. The way that day went down is not what she told. Can I prove it? No. Do I know it? Yes. But I still don't think that has anything to do with the missing child. What? All right. So I'm going to drop a link. And I want to know your guys' thoughts on it. Strict to the family. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can't judge one person's attitude across the board. People forget Candace was a lowlife. Don is a lowlife. They are as low can get. Don is, for lack of a better way to say it, pretty much a pedophile. He's an abuser. He's a drunk. He's a drug addict. She was abused, extremely codependent, a drug addict, and a drunk. You can't expect people with their backgrounds to act like you or I would act in a situation. They're going to act differently. No matter how you slice it, they're going to act differently. you know, Don is not dumb, but he's not educated. To me, they act like drug addicts. They act like they're going to lie, they're going to cheat, they're going to steal, they're going to do this. But again, I go back to when she brought, what's his name to the house? Chris McDonough to the house. And she really thought that the house seemed good. And she really believed that the house seemed good. You want camera on, Jason? Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
Doing great, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. So what's your opinions?
I'm listening to the case that we're talking about. You know, there's a lot of truth in this. You're right about everything.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, you will. Right here. Hey.
Hi.
I'm doing very, very good.
Good.
It's a very... We should never jump to conclusions.
What?
We should never jump to conclusions unless we have proper evidence and proper facts.
I agree with that too. Oh, they're saying you're very loud and muffled.
I don't know. I'm using my S23. This is new to me. Hold on. Let me do this right. Sorry. We must never conclusions unless we have proper evidence and we have the facts that back up the statement, because it can be blaming the others or it could be improper evidence, right? Is that correct? I don't know what to do here. Do I turn my... let's see. I'll turn my volume down. Would that help? How's that sound? Is that better? Yeah, what's up?
When I speak, though, I have to unmute 2 different mics. So that's why you don't hear me speaking that much.
Okay. So what's your thought on this?
I've given my thought. I believe that... I know, Crystal. That's why I'm saying I have to do both mics. I believe that Candace lied about everything that day. I think that she doesn't know what happened to Summer. She doesn't know where Summer disappeared from. But she can't tell anyone that because Don will kill her. And she just can't. She has to be able to come up with a story that made sense, that people are going to buy, and that story is eating her alive. But at no point do I think that she did something to her daughter. And I don't think Don did either. That is my opinion. And that's it. That's what I think is going on. But from day one, I never once thought that she had done anything to her own child. I don't believe that. I don't believe that she did anything, and I don't believe that Don did anything. I do think that she lied. And she lied from the beginning. See,
that backs up what you said. That backs up what you said about lack of self-awareness that they don't have, and that's the truth.
I mean, you have to remember, these are two these are two people that grew up in a world that most of us will never understand. These are two people that grew up in a world I don't ever want to understand. But they are I mean, I hate to put it like this, but they are true lowlifes. And it's very hard for, but they're also drug addicts. And drug addicts are going to lie. And Don's abusive. And if Candace said that she lost her child and she doesn't know where it happened, or she was doing a drug deal, or there's drugs involved, all of these reasons, Don would have killed her. So she had to come up with something. Grandma had to come up with something. There's definitely some truth in her story, but I don't believe that that's the whole truth at all. I believe that that there's partial truth, but Grandis has told one too many stories. Candace has told one too many stories. And when I say stories, I don't mean full stories, little pieces here and there. We lost them. Little pieces here and there. That I've noticed. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for coming up. See, Tina, I don't even believe it was an accident. I don't believe she knows what happened. I do believe that Summer was taken. From where remains the question. I don't believe that Summer got taken from the house. I think Summer was taken somewhere else. I agree. If it was a cover-up or of an accident, they would have found physical evidence. Tiffany, I have been saying that from jump. Yeah, but I don't think she was taken from the house. I think she was taken somewhere else. Like her scent ended at the end of the driveway. Could have been sold, but I don't think she was sold. Somebody would have come forward. And then I heard, and I know I spoke to you guys about this. I don't remember who said it, but I know we listened to it together. Grandis never said that she, if you just got rid of Candace, that was a blatant lie. That had never been said. So I don't know why people lie like that. Because, yeah, that was never said. Grandis never said that anywhere. Swing alone on that property looked extremely dangerous. Tree was so close to the swing, but Elliot checked the tree. Yeah, I never gave any merit to the tree. Other trees, maybe. Remember her and Hunter and Summer all together that day, allegedly. And I say allegedly. She could have gone after they dropped Hunter off. You want your camera on? Hey, girl. Your mic's mute. Well,
yeah, I was trying to get you off of my
she could have gone
the background. Okay, I'm there. Nothing. This is an interesting conversation that I like to join in on.
Let me just introduce you. So everyone, this is Love A Scorpio. First time she's ever been on my panel, even though she's been following me for years. So woo woo. All right, yes, I'm gonna mute out. I'm gonna mute out. Give me your opinions. What do you think?
And a fellow Long Islander. So I pretty much wanted just to know. I know that you said there's no evidence against these parents. No, there isn't. Not that we know of, right? I do believe that there is foul play involved with what happened to Summer. There has been many versions of the timeline is where I get stuck. I get stuck at the timeline. I get stuck with the many versions Don has told about what happened with Summer. Candace doesn't speak really about what happened to Summer except for a few interviews. And I just don't see how they cannot be involved.
But let me throw this out at you. Going on my theory that Candace lied about everything going on that day, wouldn't you not say anything if, and I put the big if in there, would you kind of shut down if you knew you lied about the events of the day, which would cause, like, if you lie about something, you're never going to get the same story twice. So if she's lying about the events of the day, wouldn't that automatically make her not want to say anything due to multiple stories?
Okay, I get what you're saying, but why would she have to lie if it was an accident?
Because I don't, and this is just personal feeling, I don't believe that she had anything to do with it, but I do believe, and I said this from the beginning, that is it possible she was doing drugs with someone and someone took Summer? Or Summer walked away? Or something along those lines. Like, originally said she was in the shack at the end of the driveway, but then when we went there, that wouldn't be. But she's a drug addict. So who's to say that she just may not know what actually happened? You know, like something could have happened with Summer where she ran into a store. Let's say after she dropped Hunter off, she ran into the store and someone kidnapped Summer. She's not going to be able to tell anyone that she kidnapped, you know, that Summer was kidnapped at a store, because everyone would say, well, why the fuck, you know, that's neglect. Why the fuck would you leave your kid alone in a car? Or, you know, was Summer getting out of the car to go find mom and someone grabbed her? I mean, it's not like that area is not filled with child molesters and predators and sex trafficking rings and so on and so forth. The reason why I don't buy the soul theory, where's the money? Where's the money? There's no money trail.
I'm not convinced on the soul theory either. I'm not. I'm just not. I think that if she did go and have, like, get lost at the store, whatever, how that theory may play out, there are cameras everywhere. I think that they would nail down where she was, who took her instantly. I really do. I think that there's some manufacturing of really what happened to Summer, and Candace and Don and Grandis was all part of it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Don was at work, and it was proven Don was at work.
No, it was never proven he was at work.
Yeah, the cops proved he was at work.
Who said?
The police.
But who? Who in the police?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I could swear that Marissa, when they went down there, when Betty spoke to the police or something, I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm kind of thinking that's where I heard it from. But I could be wrong. But I could.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Lauren. Because Don said that he wasn't there before Ellie got there, and then he said that he was there before Ellie got there. So, I mean, is it possible Don wasn't at work talking to his buddy at 5 o'clock and then just left? He had to pack up his tools. That's what his story is now. Don's story has changed with every time he speaks. This is the issue that I have. The truth doesn't change. You know that. And this is the problem that I have with, and Candace doesn't speak. So the issue comes from Don, from my opinion, that every time that man speaks on every different panel, like I said earlier, YouTube, they need to stop YouTube. They just need to stop it. But every time Don speaks, it's a different story. I was hanging out with this. I was hanging out with him. I was there before Ellie. I wasn't there before Ellie. They blocked off the road. It just keeps he likes to cause confusion, in my opinion, for a reason.
Second, someone just said, I thought so, that Don's time clock showed he was at work. Said Hunter did say he saw Summer get out of the SUV after they got back from the store. Yes, Don's time clock showed that he was at work. And that's what I thought.
But Don also said he stayed later because he was talking to his buddy.
Did he say that? Was that new or original story?
That's actually a new statement that he made. He made it in the past, but he's come back to say that statement again. And he actually put out the name of the guy he was on a different channel.
I think I know what you're talking about. I do. I think I know who you're talking about.
And he did name the person. He actually named the guy he was speaking to.
Is kind of weird too, because why would he name him now and not 2 years ago?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I think we all want Summer found, regardless who we support or what we think. We all, at the bottom of my heart, I just want this baby to be found. Whatever, whoever, if it's not Don and Candace, it is someone. It is someone.
Let me ask you a question. And I say this because this is something I've always said, which is why, and you've been around long enough to know this how I feel, never get attached to a case. But looking at it from an outside perspective, as much as this community has fallen in love with Summer Wells, she's just another missing kid. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of missing children across the universe. We all feel personally attached because it's Summer and this community has done so much in speaking about Summer. But in my opinion, the eyes of the law, she's just another kid. And they have kids that go missing every day. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
Why is it Summer in the spotlight?
Is that what you mean? No, I just mean that at the end of the day, like, everybody wants her found. What about all the other kids that are missing? And even in that area, there's tons of kids missing and being sold, and I mean, horrendous. All the sex rings that go on there, all the people they've arrested, like, disgusting.
Partly to answer your question, I think it's the parents that made it polarizing. I really do.
Okay. That's a good response.
Well, thank you. I really do. I think the parents made it polarizing. Just in the beginning, I mean, Don's statement was, I'll meet Summer in the resurrection. Like, there was zero hope of her ever being found. And I thought that was odd. Kind of saying, like, you guys don't know something I know. That's how I perceived it. But that's how Don thinks.
Hold on. But you perceived it like that because you're a normal, educated human being with a brain. You're not a man who plays doctor at 17 with his 12-year-old sister and thinks it's normal. Right. You're not an abuser, as far as I don't think you are. But no. You're not a drunk. You're not a drug addict. You're not in and out of jails.
No.
So the way Don thinks is going to be totally different than the way you or I think.
Agreed.
So that's why I don't put much merit into his past tense. I mean, he's not exactly a pillar of society.
Right.
He's not exactly someone that I would think thinks rational. I mean, again, I go back to he basically molested his own stepsister and thought it was normal.
Right.
So that's somebody that tells me they're never going to think, thankfully, but they're never going to think the same way as me. So for him to use her in past tense, I can see why he would, because in his mind, once she's gone, she's gone. It doesn't mean that he's guilty. I just think it's kind of the way he is. And that's just an opinion. Yeah, he's not a scholar. But again,
No,
that's
he's no Rhodes Scholar, for sure.
That's just my personal opinion, and I mean, who am I? But I could be way off. I mean, I know why everybody thinks they're guilty. I know why everybody, followed him and looked at the way he was and all the interviews and all of that. I get all that. And I totally see what cops are saying, what everyone's saying. But I just go back to, I would be the biggest hypocrite if I preach innocent till proven guilty and then I'm making him guilty before he's innocent. I mean, before it's been proven. So that's why I stand so strong with, I just don't think they did it yet.
Right.
But I stand strong with, they are proven until they are innocent until they are proven guilty. But just from their history and the 2 years we've been seeing what they put out there and the pranks and the storyline, the timeline changing, it's like, come on, man, they could stop this, Laura, in a second. They could stop this madness in a second, and they choose not to. Why? Why? Why do they not choose to stop this craziness around summer? They have the power. They are the parents.
Okay. So think about it like this, though. Again, we're not thinking normal people. But isn't it better? Isn't it something we always say that it's better to keep her in the spotlight regardless of how we do it? Isn't that what's been said over and over and over? That just keep her in the spotlight, keep her in the spotlight, keep her in the spotlight. What they've done is kept her in the spotlight. And
yeah, but they also don't accept any help
that they have tried to be given. They want the spotlight, but then when people try to help them, they deny them. There's been several people I've seen that want to truly help them. I know that Chris is a big hot button issue for everybody. Chris was offering, just like he did for Monkey's mom and dad, to help find Monkey through the Cold Case Foundation. I know this is a trigger for some people, but Chris even said he would step aside. Just take the help that we can give you. Brandy Neal on a live begged Don to take the help from the Cold Case Foundation. They do not have to be a technical cold case foundation to get help from their foundation. And they denied it. They deny every step of the way. They deny anybody's somebody that has power, somebody that can get it, can help them. They deny it. Why? I don't understand why. Like, if that was my daughter, and I had 2 beautiful daughters, thankfully, I would say, yes, I don't care even if it costs me money, I would want anybody's help that I could possibly have. These parents do not do that. Why?
Okay.
And I can't accept the excuse that I can't accept the excuse
that they don't know any better. They sure do. They sure do. Do they fear their police? Yes, they do. The police aren't their friends. We get that. I get the mentality. So I'm truly not ignorant about that. And I just don't understand, if it's your daughter and she just disappeared. I am not condemning Don and Candace. I am just saying there's something suspicious about parents denying help.
I agree with you to a certain extent. Chris McDonough was against them from day one. Now, mind you, put yourself in the mind of a hustler, which is Candace. Put yourself in the mind of a drug addict. Maybe if people pushed it, then her lies were going to unravel. By the time Chris came on board, she was very trusting with Chris in the beginning.
Yes.
And then, remember, he made this campaign with Don's family to go after Don. All because Don didn't want to speak to him. And Don didn't want to fuck with him. So I really don't remember when he denied it.
It was just recently within the last,
I'll give you some time within the last 6 weeks. And it was on a different channel. And Chris was on there. And Don was on panel. And then they brought Brandy Neal up on panel. And Brandy, with her little broken heart, like I can't even imagine this woman, the strength that she has, begged Don to help, let Chris help. And even Chris said, I will step aside. We have a full crew of people here that can still help Summer. And he said, I'll have to check with Candace before I can give you an answer. That just doesn't sit right with me.
Okay, hold up. 6 weeks ago, I would have told Chris, if I was them, even with a missing child, I would have told Chris to take a long walk off a short pier and for him to go fuck himself. If I was Candace and Don, when it came to Chris. Why he had Brandy come on, what has
he didn't. No, Chris didn't. Chris didn't. It wasn't Chris's channel.
I don't want you to think that. It wasn't Chris's channel. Chris was a guest on a different channel. So I don't want to, I want to just make that clear.
Okay. He said he would ask his detectives, the FBI and TBI. Even Chris said if they needed his help, they would ask. Exactly. If they wanted Chris's help, they would have asked. But I totally would have told Chris to go fuck himself if I was Candace or Don. Chris has done nothing to help them. And at the end of the day, why, if Chris is so influential and Chris has so many friends and so much power, will Chris then be a fucking hero? You don't need their permission. Just do it. Just call the FBI. Just do it. But he didn't need their permission to find Summer or to do searches or whatever. He doesn't need their okay to do that. So just fucking do it. But he can't.
No, they do need permission. They need permission to search and everything else. Yes, they do. They're not a legal
organization. It's a foundation. They can't just bust in on people's properties.
Yeah, but we already know she's not on their property. That's what I'm saying.
But if they had a lead and saying that she was even out of state, just say, speculation, Summer's out of state, and the Cold Case Foundation had a lead on it. They can't just bust in somebody's house and say, we're looking. They have to have the backing of all that. That wasn't, I truly believe. And why would Chris say, I'll back out, Don? Don, I'll back out. I will back out of it. What's the problem with that?
Because he won't. And I wouldn't believe him either. They were very, or at least Candace was, very, very, whatchamacallit, very, trusting of Chris.
Because they don't like anybody that had a LE background. They don't like anybody in the authoritative position. That's my opinion. They won't take anybody's help that has the power to actually do something for Summer. Why? That's just my opinion. I don't understand that. Brandy had the same thing. She took it. So what's the difference?
Okay, so she took it and nothing's happened.
Well, they found that they did find the other people that they thought that had a confession, or the husband, Stacy. I don't remember their names, but they had a credible lead, credible quote unquote lead about where Monkey was. So they did get some activity on Monkey, and it's still ongoing, unfortunately.
The people were let out of jail and proven to be innocent. And that had nothing to do with them. That had nothing to do with Cold Foundation. That had to do with this woman confessed.
No, she was charged with knowing of a corpse.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was dropped.
No, she's still in there.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure she's still in there.
Someone double check. I'm pretty sure she got out. I remember hearing it. Why do I hate Chris so much? Because he's a narcissistic piece of shit. That's why. Michael Vaughn. That's all I gotta say.
But that's okay. So is Don. So is Don. Don is a narcissistic prick too. That's
very true.
So that's why this case gets crazier and crazier by the day. Don is too. And Chris was in law enforcement, and Don said, what would you want happen to the person if you found them that did something to your daughter? I wouldn't want them to go to prison. Really, Don?
Was right. She is out. It was dropped. That's what I thought.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, that's another thing. What Chris McDonough did to Nomadic Track was incomprehensible. I agree.
So what I'm saying is, let's take Chris out of it. He was given the offer of Chris being taken. Chris, honestly, I don't think Chris would have put it out there. I don't. But that's just me. And I can, this is a civil conversation, and I just think that the craziness of this case from the get-go, and it's just spiraled. And like we were talking about, everybody else outside of law enforcement that had their hands up on that hill, it's just been not about Summer. Just not about Summer. And that's who's important to me, to be honest. It really is Summer. It really is. I just can't look at this parents at this point, 2 years, 2 weeks later, and say that I could trust them, that they had nothing to do with them. I couldn't defend them. That's just me. That's just me.
And I agree with you about the defending part, but here's another question I have that I have not really been able to get an answer to. So, are they not allowed to see the boys?
No.
At all?
No.
So then why did Don redo the house saying that they were going to get him back only for them to leave and not want to come back? Like, who's in Arkansas? Like, what made them...
There's a few reasons in
just what I've been watching and seeing, because I've been with Summer's case since, the Molly days, and she's no longer doing it and hasn't done it for a while. But the reason why they left to Arkansas is they threw everybody under the bus that lives there. Everybody, any other suspect they could put out there that literally had alibis, except for Don and Candace and Grandis. They left there. The boys were taken, was it 2 or 3 weeks after Summer? And Don's touted it was for their safety, which was not true. That was definitely not true. And they are not allowed to speak to the boys because Don broke an order when they went to, I think it was a supervised visitation when Summer first had went missing and they first went into CPS, that Don took the older boy and was speaking to him kind of in private, and he got caught. And then he went to jail shortly after that. Don never did any of the parenting classes. To Candace's credit, she, from what I hear, did what she was supposed to do. But when Don came back, that's when he decided he was going to fix the house up. But I think people were in that house fixing it up, helping Candace before Don got out of jail. So it was already almost over for Don getting those boys back when he got out of jail.
We both established that Don is a loser, Candace is a loser, they're both drug addicts, abusers, alcoholics, codependents, everything that you would never want in your child.
Right.
Now let's pick up Grandis, who has now a missing daughter and a missing granddaughter.
Right.
Which is highly suspect to begin with.
Yes.
But between the three of them, don't you think that at some point, if they did murder or sell or something, don't you think one of them would have cracked already?
Not with that mentality.
No. Nope. I think that they are so delusional is not the right word. I believe that they're sticking together like glue. Grandis did slip up just a tad in her video, in her one interview she did. She did slip up a little bit, saying that she didn't go down to the watering hole, I believe it was. It's been a while, so if anybody in chat, if I'm wrong, please correct me, because I will always admit if I'm wrong, or have the timeline wrong. But I believe Grandis was not at the watering hole. She was not there. I do not believe the timeline from start to finish. Don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Absolutely don't believe that timeline. That's what I think she's lied about. That's what I think the biggest thing is that she's afraid that her timeline is going to get outed. We don't know if she even told Don the truth, but I can tell you as a mom, I'm going to stick up for my daughter. And if whether it's my grandchild or not, my daughter's my daughter. So I absolutely, and I've said this from day one, I absolutely think that her timeline is a complete and blatant lie. And there's something in there, which is what she doesn't want anyone to know. And that's what she's afraid about finding out. I don't think that it has to do with she murdered. I really think that Summer was taken, but it wasn't from that house that day or the way they explained it. The only problem with my theory is the boys. I don't, Don may lie, Candace may lie, but the fact that you also have 3 boys, I don't believe they're lying too. And they would have cracked at some point already. So that's why you have too many people.
I agree with you. I think the boys do know more than anybody else in this case. One, because they're sober, right? The boys were the only ones sober on that hill. And the boys probably do know. And I believe this is why we're in 2 years, 2 weeks later, because those boys have to heal through that trauma of what happened. I believe the boys did see something, but they're not going to they can't just break a kid and tell us, what do you know? What do you know? It's going to take time. The story that the boys have that they've seen, they have to take time to decompress. It's a very delicate thing to do with children and minor children. That's my faith is that the boys know, just like, Orrin and Orson, that their siblings saw what happened to those 2 boys. I feel like it's a similar type of thing, that they have to just process those boys very carefully and just be gentle with them, because I can't imagine what that house was like, Laura. I can't even imagine. I've seen pictures of that house. I heard the way Don talked to his grandson, and it's just inexcusable. It's just really inexcusable. To this day, Don is cursing out of 4-year-olds, literally. calling him MFer. So it's just something that's super complicated. This case is very complicated, many layers, much due to the parents and the people that surrounded them, the revolving door of degenerates that came into that house, Laura. It's astounding. It really is. And the parents let them in. This is why I cannot give Don and Candace a pass. They let these people in. Don even stated the bad decision is Candace made friends with some bad people. Hello? You kidding, right?
Yeah, but
It's
Don
just
lies
really sad,
too.
and it's just really heartbreaking. My heart breaks for those boys, seriously. And Summer, God only knows where she is, what happened to her. But I just cannot I cannot stand here and say, I believe Don and Candace. I stand by Don. I just can't do it. I can't, not from what I've seen. And I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot and I just cannot do it. Do people antagonize the shit out of the Wells? Yeah, they do. Yep, they sure do. So I'm not, you know, there's two sides to it and that they're definitely, but they do not ever stop. They don't ever, they need to stay off of YouTube. If they really wanted to find out where Summer is, wanted to have those boys back, Don got out of jail. He could have started the slate clean. It was completely his decision to come back to YouTube. And that's what he did. And that's not a parent that he should be worrying about Summer and not worrying about YouTube.
And I agree. I definitely agree with that. But what if, here's just scenario, what if YouTube is all he has? Just like a lot of people, YouTube is all they have. Their communities that they find are literally all they have. And maybe that gives him... Actually, you know what? Let me back up for a second. The way Don would talk to Betty and Marissa, why? Why are you talking to them? Like, Betty's following you and, you know, Marissa got you fired and all this other shit. Why would you talk to them? It's just his mentality. He sees nothing wrong with it. He sees good-looking blondes or, you know, beautiful blondes that he perceives are, you know, hot blondes, and he'll talk to them. So that's why I don't look up much. I don't give his YouTube persona much thought, simply because I think of it and I'm like, you know, like even when Marissa was telling me like, oh my God, Don's calling me again. I'm like, why is he calling you? I'm like, you're fucking trying to ruin him. Why is he calling you? I don't know. And I could never understand it. And then you had Betty, who was even worse than Marissa. And like, because Marissa knows how to talk to people. Like, I've done interviews with her where she could like finagle him. But Betty's hardcore. Like, why would you have these long conversations with Betty? Betty was trying to ruin you. It doesn't make sense. No, I said he perceives yarn. It just doesn't make sense. And that's why I can't look at his YouTube life and give him, you know, credit or, you know, bash him for it based on the simple fact that this guy's fucking sitting there talking to Betty.
Yeah, but it's been that happened in the beginning though, Laura.
That was pretty much early on. I mean, Don is still going on YouTube, and he's going on many channels. He uses horrible language, deplorable language, and it's never about Summer. Either one of them, Candace and Don, it's never about Summer. It's about their own needs, how they feel. Oh God, it's literally insanity. It's literally insanity. If they say, honestly, Laura, I could be a fair person, and I am a fair person. And I try to say, I have empathy for them both. I really do. I've had people in my life addicted to drugs that had no idea what the hell they would do day to day. They didn't know what they said day to day. I do. I have empathy for that. But you are talking about your children, your 3 beautiful boys and your daughter. But they don't. They don't talk about them. Every once in a while, you'll hear Candace, I want my boys back. They never did anything. Candace did do some classes, some parenting classes. So credit to Candace. I just, the YouTube thing that Don's doing now, and Candace does not follow Don. I will say that. Candace does not. I think Candace wants to be in the background. She does not want the spotlight on her for whatever reason, self-preservation, whatever. She doesn't have to be on YouTube if she doesn't want to. So good on her. But him, nope, nope, nope. And it's weekly, Laura. It's been ongoing. It just doesn't stop with that man. It's just vile. It's vile. And then he blames his sister for what he did to his sister. No, sir. No, sir. Nope. Candace and yeah, I know you would. But Candace, Don, well, Candace, let's see, who was at the house that day? The 3 boys, right? Candace and Grandis, and Don was at work. So there was 2 adults because Don was at work, right? And then you have the 3 boys. That's the nucleus right there of what happened that day. And then Hunter got pulled in. So there's a teenager, 2 adults, and now 4 children. So that doesn't leave us with much options.
How much do you think Grandis is involved?
Oh, I think because of Grandis saying that she was watching the boys down the hill after supposedly Summer was abducted from the home and she has a bad knee and she just got home from the ER. So what was she going to do if the boys weren't safe? There was some lunatic on that hill that just stole Summer, that just kidnapped Summer. And he was down at the car waiting for some other kids to come out. Like, seriously, you're going to put the boys in harm's way when you couldn't do anything to stop a crazy person? Going with their theory. I'm going with their abduction theory. Why would you do that to those boys after you lost your daughter in her 20s? Why would you send 3 boys outside to look for Summer when you knew possibly that the person that abducted her could still be there? That doesn't make sense to me, Laura.
The way it made sense to me was I'm sorry, not he, that Summer wasn't taken from the house. Summer was taken somewhere else, either in the morning or at night. But Summer...
Candace's version was she was taken from the house.
No, I know that's her version, but her version also stated that the most realistic one I heard was when she said that she was sleeping, that her and I think this was a slip up, that her and Grandis was sleeping. But what I don't believe, and I've never believed this, when she said that she went over to tell the boys she was leaving Watch Summer, I don't believe that. I don't believe she ever said anything to the boys about go watch Summer. I believe that she left to go buy dope or was doing dope or something, and she didn't even know where Summer was. Or she took Summer and she went in to buy drugs and someone took Summer. That to me is the most logical because, again, her scent ends at the end of the driveway. So she got in a car. And what I've always had this deep feeling of, and it hasn't wavered since day one, is that she was doing drugs or she took Summer with her. Maybe that she did say to the boys, watch Summer, which I don't believe. But if she took Summer with her and then she did what she had to do and Summer disappeared, that fits in with why she lied. There's no one to prove otherwise. There is no proof of anything. Like, if Summer disappeared at that point, then she calls Don, oh my God, Summer's missing, she didn't want to tell Don that it was because of drugs. She didn't want to tell Don that she left the house. So she came up with the story with Grandis, and Grandis' story might be half correct, but something like that. I don't think Hunter's involved. I think...
No, I don't think Hunter was involved. I think he was just a ploy. I just think he was pulled in. I really do. Candace pulled him in for some reason.
Yeah, but I don't think he's got the brain capacity at 15 to hold this deep, dark secret against the police, against, the FBI. I just don't.
You do know Hunter had done some awful things, right? Prior to this.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, there's that for a kid. And I believe he's a kid with the kid mentality. I do. But do I think that I don't think he knows anything that happened with Summer. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't believe that Hunter has anything to do with what happened to Summer. I think he was pulled in as part of Candace's narrative, whatever was going on that day. If it was pre-planned, not planned, an accident, this or that, there was a reason why she contacted Summer. Was it just to get him things and go to a park? I don't know. I have questions about that. And then there's about a 3-hour missing time gap from when the police actually arrived to the property. That I have a problem with too.
With you, I've always had a problem with that. Like, why such a long wait? But that's why I go back to she didn't disappear from the house. Nobody came up that hill. I was on that hill. I saw that driveway. Yeah. Nobody walked up that driveway. I can promise you. No. And there's no way on either side to get up there. It's not flat. It is a very, very steep hill.
It's a freaking mountain.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
It is. It's a freaking mountain. I mean, come on. That's the only way to put it. It's not a glide into a driveway. That's for sure. Mm-mm.
Okay. I mean, when me and Pretty with Pistols, and it was pouring out, if you remember, it was bad. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going in the driveway. I'm just doing it. And we had a rental car, and I swore I was going to get a flat tire. Like, that's how steep it is and how rickety it was. Like, it was bad. Yeah. And nobody is walking up there, stealing a kid and walking back down. That's why I don't believe she was taken at the house.
Right. And there's no way a truck or a car is going up that hill without hearing gravel, tires spinning, the trannies dropping. There's no way that they're not hearing that. There's no way. No way. Mm-mm. Nope. And Candace left that property more than once in a car.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying I just don't think that she was. I don't believe that Summer was taken from the house.
No, I don't either.
Oh, I don't either. The Hunter keeps telling different stories about how Summer got out of the SUV. I don't know.
Yeah, because he said that he was sitting in the middle, then he was then he moved the milk, because supposedly Hunter was holding the milk jugs. I believe that's what they might be referring to. I can't see the chat, so. And then the milk jugs were to the left, to the left of Summer, propped up, and she was leaning on them. So she was sitting in the middle, and everybody, his story isn't adding up to where he got out of the car or how he got out of the car and how the milk jugs got the way they did. So, and he didn't have much time because Allie was waiting for him.
Crystal, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's not probable. I do not believe that somebody walked up the dog trail, because you would have to know where the dog trail is. And I do not believe that somebody just walked up the trail kidnapped a child and walked back down and nobody heard it. Neighbors would have heard it. Somebody would have heard it, unless she didn't scream. But somebody would have seen something if they went up the dog trail and came back down the dog trail. That's what I'm saying. And I agree, leave Hunter alone.
We aren't leaving Hunter alone because I don't think
No,
Hunter
not
had
you.
anything to do with it.
Not you. Talking about chat.
Oh yeah, I don't believe Hunter had anything to do with it. I just think he was pulled in. I really do. He's a gullible teenager that wanted vapes and tea, we'll say. Mm-hmm.
I saw chat. There are many mixed feelings about Hunter.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine because I really can't see chat, so I have no idea what's happening. But I agree with you. I do not think that baby was taken off that mountain. No way. Unless, and this is just another thing that we could throw out there. Unless it's somebody that Candace knew, and it was not a stranger that came up there. But then again, that doesn't fall in line with their story. So, nope.
I tend to think Grandis knows more than Don or Candace. I don't know why, but I've always felt like that there's something about her that is just not trustworthy. And I understand sticking up for your daughter. I got no problem with that. But, the way her stories have changed, are you really sticking up for your daughter or are you involved somehow?
No, she took off right away.
Yep,
remember?
I know.
She took off 2 weeks later out of there, camper and all, gone, back to Wisconsin.
The camper was there when McDonough was there. The camper was there.
When was McDonough there? Do you recall? Because I don't.
I don't remember exactly when, but she wasn't living there. But
the camper was there when he was there. You're right.
And she was somewhere else. She went to Wisconsin.
Then she drove there.
Which again, why would you leave your granddaughter? Your granddaughter is missing.
And your daughter, who's devastated that her daughter went missing, like you, Grandis. I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, it wasn't a surgery. She went there for her sister or something, or brother. It wasn't a surgery at all.
Yep. It was for her brother, who is disgusting in his own right.
I think they all are.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible if tree trimming guys were making noise at that time. True.
That is true.
But again, I don't think she was there I don't think she was taken from the house. I used to. I went back and forth with it, but I really don't think she was taken by the house. I think she was taken somewhere else, and she just doesn't want to say anything. And then you have that other guy who she drove. I forgot his name. No, I think it was like 2 weeks we drove on. Who's the guy she drove and dropped off somewhere? Like her whole story was weird.
Well, Jose was prior to Summer missing.
Oh, that's right. But all right, now I'm getting my stories confused. See
what
happens with false information.
Yeah, it's crazy. The story is crazy. It's just insane. They have so many people that they like to latch on to people in need. They like to prey on people in need. And then they have that whole caravan from New York come there. That's crazy. That's crazy. And Jose's in the back of the moving van attached to the what? It just
I never trusted that. I never believed his story.
No, I think that there is something way more, and as we can see by all the arrests that are happening now, I do believe it's a lot of DRUGT happening. For sure, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But that hill is going down one by one. They're plucking them off one by one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this Fred dude?
Not credible.
Well, I
in
know
my
that,
opinion.
but why do you think he's making up these
I,
crazy names?
I don't know if he was fed a story to put out there. Somebody had an interesting thought that it was set out to send a signal to somebody. Not that I agree with that, but anything is possible. But he's he's got he's literally gotten not a leg to stand on. Not when it comes to summer. No way. I think he had any. I don't know enough about him to say if he had something to do with Summer going missing. I don't have enough information about that.
See, and I tend to think that if anybody has something to do with it, he's making himself look as guilty as fuck.
Yes, you are. Yep, I agree. I think that Don went to Fred's house that night that Summer went missing. I believe Candace was walking up Ben Hill Road, and I don't know if she interacted with Fred, but Fred claims that she saw her. That's as far as I know about the day Summer went missing, which is the most important part of this. So that's pretty much all I know. But I know that uh, Don did go there and speak to Fred. But I think Fred was fed that story about the waterfall. I don't know by whom, but I don't think that Fred could come up with something like that on his own. Just saying, especially just coming off meth and everything else. I don't think that's happening.
That's where I disagree. I think he did put that out by himself. Now, do I think he wants to send people on a wild goose chase? Absolutely. But if anybody that we have heard might know something, he's making himself the prime suspect to me. He's not the prime suspect that he actually took her, but he is making himself a prime suspect of, like,
inserting himself.
In not only inserting himself, but it's kind of like a narcissist who always drops like little clues about what's real, even though they're totally exaggerating everything else. But there's a certain truth in what they let out. That's what he reminds me of. Like,
and Don does the same thing. Don does exactly the same thing. There's little bits of truth that Don Well says, and you have to know how he speaks and where he's saying them. It's very interesting. I really do think that Don thinks Candace knows more than he does. I really do. I think Don is holding on to Candace to hold that hope that maybe someday she'll tell him, but that's never going to happen. That's not going to happen.
firsthand, I 100% agree with that. 100%. And I've said that from day one, that I do believe that Don does not know Candace's whole truth. Will he ever? I don't know. But I do think that has to do with the timeline.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Not so much the actual, what happened, but there's something that's eating her up alive that she's not telling him, and I honestly don't think he knows.
I don't think he knows either. He doesn't know the full story. And everybody's like, he was there the whole day. I don't believe he was there the whole day. I don't believe that. I don't. I do believe he was at work. I don't believe he was there till 5 o'clock or whatever that he was trying to pull. I don't believe he was there that entire day. I think he came home. I think Candace, my opinion, my speculation, I think Candace called him when she realized Summer was gone, got gone. And that was about 3:30. And I think he was already on his way home at that time and had no idea. She was already gone when he got there. And he even said it. He said, when I drove up there, I knew she was already gone. He even said it.
I tend to believe that she may have said that, Summer was missing or someone was taken from the house, and he spent 2 hours looking for her in places that he would think she would be. That's one of my thoughts. If that's why it took so long for the cops to come, or for the cops to be called, that she called him wherever she was and lied and said, yeah, he was taken from the house. She was taken from the house, so she went missing from the house. So he spent 2 hours looking for her, which isn't abnormal. I mean, I would too. Not 2 hours,
No,
but
I mean, that is possible. But I don't know if you remember the statement Don made about Candace. If anything, I have 7 alibis. She has none. This B is going down.
Evil Exists just took that and I guess played it, and I was like, hey, that's my voice. Yeah, he just did a video on that, the whole 7 alibis, and I remember me and Marissa were like, what?
I was watching that live with you all. I was like, holy, oh my God, what is happening?
I was like, oh my God, I was finally getting somewhere with him, and you're like trying to be all cutesy. I was like, I was finally there. And he won't speak to me after that. He will never speak to me again. And I was like, I don't even understand why. Like, I have been on your side
you
from day
ask more
one.
questions. He can't answer.
But I've been on his side from day one, and have like stuck up for him more than all these idiot YouTubers that he speaks to. And I'm
But
like,
he doesn't
oh
believe
my God.
he doesn't believe anybody's on his side because he knows what happened. He knows to an extent, I'll say.
My other thing that I say is he did not like Grandis, and Grandis did not like him. So I also think that if he knew something, she would have ratted him out. She would have said something, or he would have said something, which is why I go back to he's clueless. And he sticks up for his wife too much. And I think that's also eating her alive. Because she knows she's lying to him and can't do anything about it. Because she's just not an educated person. And I can't imagine. Dolly tried getting it out of her. He's a good sweet talker. Benny tried to get it out of her. He's a good sweet talker.
I don't
nothing.
think Candace is stupid. I really don't. I don't think Candace is a stupid person. I think she wants to personify her as a simple person, but I do not believe Candace lives in the streets. She knows how the streets go. I do not think Candace is stupid on any level. I know I'll probably get tomatoes thrown at me, but I don't believe Candace is as stupid as she portrays. I just don't.
Stupid, I agree with. She's not stupid. She's a hustler.
Yes.
However, I don't care if you're the smartest scholar in the world, you're the lowest drug addict in the world. When you get drunk, you're going to speak. That's just the way alcohol works. And you don't have to be smart, or you don't have to be stupid to slip up on drugs or alcohol. I mean, it's not so much drugs, but alcohol. So the fact that she's been drunk so many times and not once ever slipped only confirms that she's lying about the timeline, because that's changed. She's lying about the timeline, but not lying about that she didn't do anything to Summer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But if you've been an alcoholic for a long time, speculating, I don't know her history with that. You can, if you have any type of manipulative background, and I do believe that Candace and Don both had pretty crappy upbringings. I will say that. But I do believe, even in the depths of alcoholism, that, and sadly, I know this because of family members, that they can withhold what they really think. They may have that moment like what you guys went through with Molly when they lost it. Candace lost it, and he hit her. Yeah, it's going to be amongst themselves, but them talking just outright, they can control it. They can control it. That's just, I've seen it in my personal life. She can control it. She won't let the truth slip because she knows if she does, they're done.
or there's nothing to tell. I mean, we can go that way too. Or there's nothing to tell. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
That there's definitely something to tell. It's just not what everyone thinks. And I really believe Ellie knows that too. Now,
Yeah.
if she would tell the truth about the timeline, maybe then they would be looking in a different direction and possibly could have found her, because they're looking in one direction, they're looking all over, but they're looking in one direction going on the story she was taken from the house.
Right.
But if they find out that she was actually taken from Joe Schmo drug dealer house, well, maybe Joe Schmo drug dealer's house is connected to a sex ring, which is connected to overseas trading of children. You know what I mean? Like, where they wouldn't have gone that route if she was taken from the house.
And that's the exact reason why I cannot back
Either Don or Candace. I cannot do it. I can't. Like I said, I am not sitting on here cursing them out. I'm just sitting here saying, you have the power. Don and Candace, you have the power to stop the crazy. Just, if you know anything, like, just come on. Just let's find Summer. Like, just do it. I mean, one of them has to be brave enough to do it. I just don't understand why they don't.
Then they're not getting the attention. They're getting attention. They don't have anything else.
Yeah.
They don't have their kids. They don't have a future. They don't have their daughter. Everywhere they go, they're being blamed for, their daughter, or something happening, that they did something to their daughter. Why they left, I don't know. Why he's called back, I don't know. Hey, East Coast, why he's called back, I don't know. But I don't know if we'll ever get all the answers.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I don't
know if we'll ever get all the answers, but I do know that somebody will be held accountable. I do not think that Ronnie Lawson is a dumb fool that doesn't know what he's doing. You have TBI and you have FBI, and they have been working, and they didn't say much at the 2-year mark of Summer being gone, and there's a reason. There's a reason. I have a question for you, Laura. So you know that they took all the phones, right? They took I think they took Grandis's phone. Don and Candace and Hunter's. And then Don said that the 3 p.m. mark was erased till, I don't know, I think 6, 7 o'clock. Their phones were erased. Why did they keep Hunter's phone?
Hunter was still there. He was still part of it. And they wanted to see if his story matched up, if he was a witness, if he had issues with lying to them, because if he was lying about the way the phone calls went down, or that, she called at, let's say, I don't remember the exact time, but she called at 5 o'clock to say, Summer's missing, have you seen her, or something. Maybe they wanted to make sure that was true, that it really came from her phone, and she was, X, Y, and Z here, and because Hunter was part of that timeline.
Yeah, but the other 3 got their phones back. Why can't they just
delete whatever they needed from Hunter's phone and give it back to him?
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, how do we know Hunter didn't get his phone back?
He said it. He said it during the interview. He's never gotten it back. Did they keep it for evidence, perhaps, maybe?
If there is a story there? Yeah, he never got his phone back, but the 3 adults did. I find that an interesting little tidbit.
I think they had their phones back at that time of the time of the interview.
They got their phones back pretty fast. Don even said it.
He was more pissed that they erased that part of the timeline. So was the script on the timeline that they erased, and they're keeping? This is all speculation. I'm just thinking about this now. Did they erase all of Don, Candace's, and Grandis's timeline and keep keep Hunter's for the truth? I don't know. It's a possibility.
Oh, Janelle, I know you're new in this case, but that theory has been debunked a year or 2 years ago. That someone from the church took her to raise her better. That's been debunked.
Yeah, there's no hero theory here.
Hunter told CM he still didn't get his phone back.
I wish that was the case, but it would still be kidnapping.
That's true. Okay, so Hunter said that he still didn't get his phone back. Candace and Don got their phones back quick. I don't know. I definitely don't have that answer.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe they had already wiped their phones and Hunter didn't. I don't know.
No, the FBI took Hunter's phone. The FBI had all of their phones.
No, I'm saying maybe Don and Candace wiped their phones before turning them in, and their phones were just no use. Maybe.
But Don's blaming the FBI for wiping them, so it's possible that they did it, and they're just blaming the FBI.
All right, it can't be debunked.
That is possible.
Hold on, it can't be debunked. We have no proof anymore from the church took her. No, we don't, but there's no... Where is she then? Nobody from the church moved. And you have to remember, this is 2 years later. The FBI was involved. Anyone was involved. The FBI, the TBI. I mean, you had some big bureaus involved. So I can't imagine that none of them would have tracked down someone from the church. I just don't buy it.
No.
Too many big people were involved.
No.
So, but I am going to end this because it's already over 2 hours.
All right.
But I want to thank you so much for coming up, Scorpio.
It was a pleasure, honey.
It was wonderful. You're a wonderful guest.
Thank you, my love. I'll drop down.
All right.
And maybe we can revisit this one night. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. You
All
got
right,
it.
honey.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, all right. How'd I do with the sound? Because every time I spoke, I have to mute both of them. Or every time I didn't speak, I had to mute both of them. So, I think I did good, right? They knew about CPS on the trail. I've been attending church. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to get off. Make sure you guys order candles. 20% off. You can go right to my store on YouTube and pick out a candle, or you can go to the website and pick out a candle. 20% off. And it was a good stream. I want to thank Jason for coming up, and I want to thank Leve Scorpio for coming up. And I will see all you beautiful people tomorrow. And that's it. All right. Have a wonderful night. And I am craving some peanuts. So you know I'm going to go eat some peanuts. And go make more creations. Actually, I got to make some orders. I got to make some candles. So, all right, beautiful people. I will see you later.